I'm Tina White, and I'm here today with Michael Hoeben, who is the Transgender HIV Bridge and Retention Coordinator at Winchs, Western North Carolina Community Health Services. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Tina?
I'm fantastic. All right, that was a big title to unpack. Tell me about your job.
Yeah, so my job is to be the Bridge and Retention Coordinator for two specific patient populations, transgender persons and people living with HIV.
How big, give me some numbers or some sense of the scale. How big is that population, whether you mean for the whole county or that you're treating?
So our HIV population is about 750 plus patients, and we currently have about 425 active transgender patients.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I must be one of the few who aren't.
We're like a bright light to the trans community. They come from all over.
All right, so let's cut right to that. So you must have a lot of interaction with the trans community, even especially now. Tell me how they're being affected by COVID.
I mean, we know the statistics, right, with disparities. And so those stories are all the same, except perhaps exacerbated under crisis conditions, right? Trans people are always struggling for employment, for housing, for healthcare. And so under COVID, those issues are more prevalent. At the same time, at the local level, we've seen amazing response from local community organizations and partners. And there are resources available that weren't available prior to COVID. So that's pretty exciting.
If someone's watching this, where would they go for those resources? Who should they approach?
Well, it depends on what resources you look for, right? So Campaign for Southern Equality and Transmission have both been doing grant rounds on individual and organizational level at Campaign for Southern Equality. Transmission, I believe, is mainly focused on grants for individuals. And I'm not sure when that next round of funding, but I think both organizations have done 3 rounds now of funding, which is, I mean, incredible. CSE, I think over $200,000 in funding has been put out in the community, in the South too, which is incredible. Blue Ridge Pride, they also have grants. They've funded some of our programs that we're trying to launch here. Winchs has recently launched a Transition Assistance Program, aka TAP, which I'm super stoked about because it applies these funds to transition-related medications or hormone replacement therapy so that patients of Winchs can come and get their HRT at no cost, which is an incredible safety net, right? When you're in a time where you don't know where maybe food and you're having to choose between food, housing, and what we don't want to see is our transgender patients having to sacrifice themselves in that process.
Talk to someone who isn't transgender and may not understand. Why is it so important to maintain continuity of their treatment?
I mean, it's legitimately alignment with who a person is. For me, I'm a trans man, and my transition has profoundly changed my mental, physical health, spiritual well-being. And to lose that, while I have the resilience and the ability to move through that, but it would be devastating. And so that continuity of care is just allowing a person to maintain alignment with themselves.
Tell me about the TAP program.
So basically, you have to be a patient of Winchs receiving HRT. You come to our pharmacy to pick up your prescription. We have patient assistance specialists who basically fill out, it's like 2 minutes form. They give you a slip. You take that back to the pharmacy and you leave with your HRT at no cost. It doesn't matter if you're insured, uninsured, none of that matters. What we found here is that our 400 plus patient population, almost 90% are at or below 200% federal poverty level. So the need is there, and we're doing our best to stretch to meet that need and have been super supported by our local LGBTQ plus organizations in doing so.
So how is Winchs holding up with COVID? You guys are putting yourselves at risk.
Yeah, yes, and I'm sure there are on individual and personal levels concerns, but as an organization, I mean, it's healthcare. When you choose to work in this environment, you know what that means. It doesn't mean it's not difficult, but yeah, we have shown up and stood up from the beginning. It's what we do, and we're doing it well.
So we cannot get through this conversation without talking about Black Lives Matter.
Ah, yes.
So first of all, what do you think? What are your thoughts this past week?
I mean, it's incredible. It's inspiring. It's way overdue. It's an opportunity. What's so great about, when I use great in quotations, the Floyd case is that it's undeniable the changes that we need now. My parents, my parents are like my litmus test of America, and for them to be able to see it and be like, "Oh yeah, that's wrong," is really great because the momentum that's building now. I mean, it's a long time overdue. You can't keep pushing people to the edge and expect them not to break at a point. And the breaking that's occurring now is so beautiful. So beautiful. In the streets, I mean, it's frightening in some ways, but I am so happy to be alive and part of this movement at this time.
Yeah, amen. It is amazing. What percentage of your patients on both HIV and trans are people of color, or would fit into this broader category of groups that have been oppressed because of their, not just their gender identity or sexual identity, but their racial, religious, or other identities?
So I don't have the actual exact percentages, but unfortunately, I'll tell you this. Our transgender patient population, primarily white. I would say probably 80+% white. The opposite is true for our people living with HIV. Mhm. And right, these disparities have nothing to do with biology. It's entirely reflective of our systemic wrongs.
So Michael, what are you taking away from the past events of the past month or two? What lessons can we draw?
Yeah, so I see two things. One is the need for more examples of creative solidarity. We need to find ways to come together and support each other on shared values. And then in this context, 1+1=3, right? You have two organizations, two individuals, two movements that can come together and create a third, a fourth, right? There's exponential opportunity for innovation as we come together to create these human-centered solutions to systemic problems. Without erasing each other. But the movement doesn't have to be about trans rights for me to stand up and say, yeah, I believe and I'm part of that. It doesn't have to be about young people. I can stand up for elderly rights and advocate for that because it's value-centered creative solidarity. And that's what I'm seeing. There's a real push towards that. And TAP for me is an example of people coming together. There's a need, the values align, and we're taking our resources and doing what we can to meet that need. The second thing is, love is an action verb. I'm the father of a 3-year-old kid. And when she was born, I thought, I will die for her. I would kill for her. And as she's grown up, what I'm realizing is that I will live for her. And that takes a hell of a lot more work, awareness, and sacrifice every day. And that is the same kind of heart that we need to bring to our individual and collective efforts. And really, as white people too, like the willingness to look at what we need to do and how we need to stand up and where we need to sit down, and ultimately where we can sacrifice to help make this a more equal and equitable society.
Michael, thank you. In concluding, where should someone go if they want resources from Winchs?
So I would advise come to me because I'm here. This is my full-time job and I can respond quickly to inquiries. At the same, so I can be emailed at transhealth@WNCCHS.org. And again, if you visit the winchs.org website, there's a ton of information. My contact information is on there as well. But I'm entirely moved and love to handhold through the process, right? Because it's that human connection that for me really makes this job worth it.
That's wonderful. Michael, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Tina.
All right, get back there and work.